Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Perspective with Viv podcast. My name is Viv, and this is the show. Today's title is How Music Heals with Sophia Warren. Sophia Warren is a rising alternative pop artist with raw, unfiltered lyrics and cinematic production. Sophia's latest EP, Adesso, dives into her identity, anxiety, and self-worth in a way that feels both intimate and universal. Featured in Spin, KUTX, and The Austin Statesman, Sophia's sound is part confession, part invocation, like she's translating her inner world into melody. Today, we'll talk about how she channels vulnerability into art, how music becomes a mirror for the soul, and what it means to stay present through it all. Hi, Sophia. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Viv. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Same here. So let's dive right into the questions.
Let's do it.
Adesso translates to now. What does the now mean to you creatively and spiritually?
So when I wrote my first EP, Bloodstone, I started writing that when I was about 13, 14. And the process of that took me until I was about 17. So it was a very you're going through a lot in that age and growing up and going into teenagehood and figuring stuff out. Like that was like the hardest point in my life at that time. I'm in my early 20s, so I'm sure it's going to get worse. When I wrote Adesso, I wrote that within a span of like a year. So much of that past EP was Bloodstone was figuring it out and not really knowing what I'm doing and being this sort of insecure teenager. But Adesso was, this is who I am right now. And I've changed so much and I've become a woman, in this time. And this is who I am now. This is what's happening to me right now. Because it's still so close to my heart, Bloodstone, but it feels like, a million miles away from when I first wrote it. So Adesso is like just that culmination of here's everything that happened, here's where I am now, and this is what womanhood is for me currently.
That sounds beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I can tell you, as someone that is in her early 30s, it does get worse, but also gets better.
Yes, I'm sure it's like better in some areas, worse in others. I'm ready for it.
I find it so impressive that you were writing your first EP within that age range when you first started. I think that that's so beautiful because capturing teenagehood in music, I can only imagine how beautiful that is. And then producing Adesso. And, because of, I feel that spending all that time with the first EP, you'd grown. So you could take a year to do Adesso because of how much time you'd put in to build music with your first EP through your cumulative years. Like, come on, that's so impressive. I really love that. So thank you for sharing that with me. Now, when you write, does it feel like you're crafting songs or like you're receiving them, almost channeling emotion through melody?
It's definitely like it comes from somewhere else. Like it comes through like the top of my head and comes out. Like that's like the best analogy to give. I feel like I've always been told since I've been doing this for almost like 10 years now, like everyone I work with is like, write every single day, write something down and like, just like have it. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like creatively, I'm going to burn myself out so fast. So I only write if I have like something to say because it is that feeling. It's like, okay, I have something in me that I need to get out and it just goes in from the top and out. I mean, that's my journal. It's my diary. It's like, and a lot of times I'll write something and then I'll go back to it like months later. And maybe in the moment I didn't know what I was writing, but I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is what I was going through. This is what my subconscious was going through. I didn't even recognize it at the time, but looking back on it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm telling myself like secrets that I don't even know about myself. It's like writing and music is just it's so mystical. It's such a magic that I think I just feel so lucky to be able to be a part of that and to have that gift that I can also create that, magic. Like I'm like, why me? Why am I allowed to do that? You know what I mean? But
I love that.
It's a dream.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Just off topic, what's it like? Like you said your music is like your diary. The reason why I'm asking this question is because, we come from two different backgrounds. So me being Nigerian and African, depending on your family structure, it's kind of like you're not meant to be so expressive about deep things, especially through music because it's for general listening, right?
Hmm.
However, when you're being vulnerable and you say music is your diary, how do you move past the fact that because you're being vulnerable, you're being naked to
Hmm.
music? How do you accept that and not feel like you're doing too much? I ask this because when I write, whether it's stories, whether it's poetry, anything really, any creation that I make, it's very, very vulnerable. Like I can't avoid it. And it's always like maybe the wrong people are saying it and they're like, oh, you're too saying too much, you're sharing too much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
I think there's sort of two ways I go about it. I think when I write something, I'm sort of, that's my way of getting over it and finishing it. Like I went through this situation or this relationship or whatever it may be, this hardship. And by writing, it sort of gives me some sort of closure to it in a way. So it helps me sort of disconnect to it because I'm like, okay, I've gone through this. I've worked this out. This isn't who I am anymore. But then I think on the second part, there's sometimes when I'm writing something and it's very raw and it's very fresh. And I'm just like, this is going to be a little feel like I'm naked, literally, and showing up like that in my birthday suit. But I know that other people have those feelings and will relate to this. Like Tori Amos once said, like, I write about things that people don't even want to think about. Like, and I feel like I'm sort of that conduit of that. It's like I have all these, horrible, dark things inside. And I know a lot of other people do as well, but they don't want to show it. So they can take the time with my music, go into their room on their lunch break and sort of have that connection with something and know, I'm not alone. Somebody else is feeling this deep, dark thing that I can't even admit to myself. And I'm still trying to get down in the depths, like that's definitely hard to be vulnerable, but I think it's just working at it and knowing like, at 12 and 13, I would have loved if somebody was talking about those things and explaining those things to me how I explain it, but I had emo music to do that for me. I had My Chemical Romance and Panic at the Disco, but it's amazing to give that back and give people that space.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I listened to Adesso today, the first three tracks, and I must say, I did feel like the way you convey your music, the songs, the way you craft them, not only are the lyrics deep and relatable, but the music sort of takes you on a journey.
Mm.
It's like you said, it makes you feel like tap into your emotions, like you said, your emo music,
Mhm.
the strings, the percussion. And if only I could be more specific when talking about music, I can only talk about how it made me feel in the sense that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that I'm listening to this. I'm so happy that I'm hearing this. That's exactly how I felt. I was like, wow, like I need to sit with this some more. Like this is a good body of work. And I'm just starting. The first track started with S. Pardon me. The
Yeah, no worries.
string.
No worries. Should
I
be
have it
Static,
here.
right? Is it Static?
Static. Thank you so much, Static. Okay, Static was a really good opener. And then next one was Green, right? Oh my goodness. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, yeah. Both two of those ones stood out to me, but I've not listened to everything. My points that I'm trying to say is that when I listened to the music, I was like, it's worth being vulnerable. It's worth being a listener to this. Is worth being a conduit that
Mm-hmm.
receives the songs for a listener. And it made me hopeful. That's why I asked you the previous
Oh,
question.
that makes
Because,
me so happy.
you know, yeah, because you're stripping away, but like it's like you're in service, to the listeners. That's
Absolutely.
how I
Like
feel.
100%. Absolutely. That's the best way to describe it. And I don't even think I can, like, to your point, describe music either. I think it's just however you feel about it, whatever words come to your mind, like, that's valid.
Yeah. Thank you. So how do songs usually come to you? Through words first, sound, or a feeling?
Sometimes it's just words or a sentence, or, I'll be out hanging out throughout the day and then all of a sudden there's this line that comes to mind, and I'll write that down, and then I go to my guitar and start figuring out chords. I think the most common thing of how I write songs is I'll take out my guitar, I'll start kind of playing around with chords, typically very like moody type chords, and this feeling will just kind of come to me. So it's sort of a culmination of all those things. Like these chords touch me in a certain way and, harken me back to, a specific time in my life or, whatever it may be. But it's always like you do sort of, as I serve the audience, you sort of serve the music. A lot of the times the music will tell you where it wants to go and you sort of have
That's
to
beautiful.
follow it where it wants to be.
So, do you have any rituals or states of mind that help you drop into flow when creating?
I do have to like do a little bit of like a grounding before I think I write. Like it's sort of like put out all of like the external and really like come into my own. I think it's hard when you have so much just like, the news and, your friends and all this stuff going on and oh, I need to get eggs tomorrow at the grocery store and it's like let's just be right here in this moment, feel what you're feeling as deeply as you can, shut everything else out and just create and just be at your most pure form. I think that's the best way that you can create music is to shut everything out and just be like, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this in this specific moment. I'm, sitting in my bed. Let's create something with no pressure, no anxieties, no external. Let's just create something.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you see songwriting as a healing practice, or does healing come after the song is made?
I think it's totally a healing practice. I think it's that there's sort of that like part 1 and 2. When you're writing it, you're releasing it in a way and it is a diary because it's like you're figuring it out on paper. Like as I'm writing it, I'm figuring out how I feel about things and sometimes it's like this isn't even me writing these words. It's like the subconscious coming out and telling me how it feels. But it's like and then after writing it finally I'm like, all right, I have this new perspective on it. I can find this sort of closure, but writing is definitely, you're sort of facing that head on. You're facing these emotions head on, this feeling head on. And when you're done with it, you're like, oh, it's like exposure therapy, kind of like you're exposing yourself to all these like deep, dark emotions. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I did it. I thought about it. I really worked through it. And now I feel like, I'm in my next step to my healing journey, you know?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, how do you know when a song has finished its message? When the
Mm,
channel closes, so to speak?
that's a tough one because I think every song has again the music kind of tells you itself like, hey, I'm done. Like, you know, I think I'm always looking at lyrics and I'm like, okay, well, what can be more truthful here? What can tie this into this? And it sort of is this ongoing battle between me and the song and be like, all right, what do you want? What do you want, song? But for the most part it takes me a while to I think I've slowly like started taking more time with music and songs. I think I used to like I'll write something and then I'll kind of leave it there, but now certain songs I work on for like months. Like and I think it sort of ends up being the perfection is the death of creativity to a certain extent because I'm like I love this song so much and I want it to be like this just masterpiece, but I think sometimes you have to know when you're like okay, I've said everything I need to say here. It's, it has what I need. I need to stop touching and fiddling with it. It's hard to know when to stop
That's
fiddling.
really nice. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I asked you about how do you know when the song is finished is because when I started songwriting, and I started from a very early age, it's like how you said it, it's kind of like a channel opens and the song, you just keep writing, you just keep writing, you just keep writing, you just keep writing. And I'm like, wow, like I have so much to say. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that I've always noticed that when like I stopped songwriting for a bit because I felt like I was writing verses upon verses upon verses. And it's like, okay, maybe we should write short stories instead since we have so much to say. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But and I never so funny, I've not gone back to songwriting since I said, oh,
Really?
okay, let's do I haven't.
Mm.
Which is so fun. That's the first thing I started doing. I started doing it from let's say like 8, 7, I like to say 7, because I was already like making songs like through melody, just saying it from top of my head. But my point is that that's why I asked that question because when you're channeling, it's like you literally have to wait until the tap closes by itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever allowed myself to get to that point, but hearing you speak and how you said, oh, you're letting the music talk to you, you're letting the song tell you when it's done. I think that's co-creation. So that's something that I think me and my listeners would definitely keep track of when we're in our own creative practice, because it's nice to not manually shut off the
Hmm.
tap. It's nice to allow the process. You're in a space of receiving. And I think it's also because you also start by grounding. So you're in that secure place to flow without trying to control because you feel overwhelmed. Thank you for sharing that once more.
Yeah, exactly. You're spot on.
So, would you say that songwriting also helps you with shadow work to dive deep into your depths and then just release? Because I like that you use that word release.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. Like even things from like, childhood traumas and things like that and digging in so deep to where I feel like I'm my own therapist, you know? I'm like I'm literally I'm healing myself and I don't even, notice it. But there is a point too where I think you get sort of that emotional fatigue, which I think a lot of artists have to be aware of. Like it is so good to get that out and put it on paper and figure it out and explore those, traumas and things you went through. But sometimes you're, straining yourself too much. And it's like you need to protect yourself, but also be able to give and work
Mm,
on these things and other people can connect too. It's definitely like you first, audience second. You need to make sure you're like taking care of yourself and your mind and the feelings that you're feeling and not go too much because then
mm.
you're in the 27 club and it's yeah. Yeah.
So, basically, you're saying that you practice compassion while exploring your shadow through music.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, because
And that's very important.
it's very important. I think a lot of artists unfortunately fall down in that path and stretching themselves too thin and getting in too much of that negative headspace and going through that, and it's like you have to take care of yourself and take care of your mind and still be open to it and let it happen. And sometimes you don't even need to write about something. Sometimes you can just sit with it and feel it. And if you feel the need to write, but don't ever force your emotions to come out. Let it happen naturally.
So you said that your music comes from a place of self-discovery. What truths has your creative process revealed to you lately?
Ooh, I think I've noticed a lot recently in trying to figure out my own confidence, especially like being like, a young woman in the music industry and, talking to these professionals who've been in it for so long and trying to have my voice heard without stepping over boundaries or, it's such a different world and you're trying to figure it out and you're like, is this, these things like because I don't have experience or is this, misogyny? Like it's so hard navigating that as a young artist, but it's it's just got to keep pushing through and you just got to like know your worth, know what you can do, understand your strengths and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it because you can. If you put the hard work in, and if you're at it every day, and even if it's baby steps, even if it's little itty bitty baby steps, even if it's an inch, you're still doing it and you're still getting out of bed and you're still at it. And I think that's given me some confidence through this process is being like, maybe I'm not doing a marathon every day, but I'm taking a baby step that somebody else didn't take today. I mean, I think that started my way to begin that sort of confidence back, but it's definitely a difficult area navigating.
Beautiful. I think from what I'm noticing through us talking, you're very like, whether it's your creative process, your songwriting journey, but you being able to discover yourself through your music has really enabled you to be so self-aware, strong in self, wise. I love the conversation we're having, like the gems that you're just dropping with ease. It's not like a huge revelation. It's just like, oh yeah, just take this, listeners. This is good stuff. I like that. It just shows which is the main concept of this podcast. Like when you find avenues to discover yourself, no matter how old you are, because age is just a number,
Mm-hmm.
you can appear wiser than, than your age, because your soul is like, what's the right word? You've given your soul an avenue to express itself, to shine its light. Yes, you're giving yourself an avenue to remember who you
Mm-hmm.
truly are. And that is what I'm seeing as you speak to me.
That is such a great, yeah, that's a great analogy. It is. It's really like
Thank you.
getting who you are as a person and getting down there deep and leaving all those like embarrassing moments and I'm
So true.
cringe and, all those other things. It's like, just leave it at the door, you know? It has no place in creativity or music. Leave it.
I love that. Yeah. So when people tell you your music made them feel seen, does that feel like a spiritual exchange to you?
Definitely. To know, I mean, that's my biggest love of doing music. That's my favorite thing ever. To know that something that I've done or said or wrote connects to somebody else. Like, that's why I started doing music. I went through a lot of anxiety and depression, like around 12, 13, and listening to music and hearing people go and phrase things exactly how I would phrase them. And
Yeah.
like, I'm like, oh my gosh, here's this community in this world that totally gets me, that I never thought that I'd be able to find. And I just, that's like the only thing I want to do. Like, all I want to do is for people to like listen to my music and go, oh my gosh, I feel that way. Or, oh my gosh, this hit me in such a specific way. Like, it's my absolute favorite thing ever to see and to hear.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm.
So who are your favorite musicians? Who inspires you or inspired you growing up?
My parents' music has such an influence on me. We used to go on so many road trips as a kid, and obviously we were not the DJs. My parents had to be the DJs. Radiohead, I mean, is definitely a top one. I mean, their music was so different and so exploratory, and it was not trying, they were not trying to do what everybody else was doing. And I think I always, in my music, I'm always like, okay, well, every chord that's ever been played has been played before in every single sequence that it can be. So it's like, how can I, if somebody's played this before, how can I change it up? How can I make it different? How can I make, when someone's listening to this, it's something that they don't expect? Because I mean, every time you listen to Radiohead or even like Kate Bush, like, you're like, what am I listening to right now? This is so different but so cool, and they're not doing what everybody else is doing. They're taking from their soul and you know showing that true authentic selves. I also think bands like Matthew Good and like Nirvana and stuff like that, like the more harder sort of stuff, and the melodies that they create, but still mixed in with that really intense sound. Like, there's still this sort of melody and atmosphere that they give. But I will listen to all those bands and Kate Bush till the day I die. I mean,
Nice.
they're,
Kate,
yeah.
Kate Bush is the one that sang that popular song that Stranger Things sang, right? Yeah, that song was my song for the summer. I was
That song's so
running
good.
up that hill. Oh, yes, gosh, I love that. Now, a question popped into my mind. When you speak about how you go through a journey of self-discovery through your musical process, what do you think of artists who end up repeating the same message all through their body of work? What's your perspective of artists that don't seem to grow in their music?
I think that it sort of I think it's almost like they can't, to me, it would feel like that they can't sort of fully digest what they've been through or what they've gone through. I see a lot of artists like that who are sort of like, quote unquote, like one trick ponies, and that's like all they write and all they create. I think some people do it because it's working and they don't want to, don't stop something that's already working, like, Taylor Swift. But it's also like, you kind of have to explore more of yourself. You have to, because I had that problem. Like, I only wrote love songs, and I'm like, this is boring. Every single song cannot be a love song, but you have to be uncomfortable and go in those other places where you're talking about mental health, or you're talking about family, or you're talking about, your pet. Like, you have to grow. I think a lot of artists don't grow or expand themselves or go into those sort of uncomfortable areas that they don't feel safe in. You have to go into those areas. And even though it's so scary and it's so nerve wracking what the response is going to be, like, it's so worth it. It's so worth it because you find so much more of yourself when you do that. And the only way you're going to get better is if you go into certain areas you're not comfortable in. If you go into spaces you don't feel safe in, you have to be uncomfortable and to grow. Like,
Yeah,
period.
love that. Love that. Love that. And yes, thank you so much for breaking that down because that's exactly how I feel. And because, on TikTok, they're speaking about that particular artist you named. I was just like, it's important for us to actually think about that because a lot of times the artists that we're listening to, we grow, but their music stays the same. So
Mm-hmm.
we who have grown, when we listen to the music, we're like, why are we still hearing the same things? Like, haven't we grown past this? Like, why are we still here? So that's where that conflict of interest comes in because it's like, oh, we want to support you, but we don't think that you're growing with us. We don't think we're your audience anymore. It seems as though you haven't moved out of that demographic.
Yeah.
How do we deal with this? How do we like reconcile? That's when you find that you start to think that, is my favorite artist really my favorite artist if they haven't really evolved past what made them so inviting and exciting when I was younger? Drake is mine, you know what I'm saying? Because I love Drake so much back in the day, but now I'm like,
Yeah. He was so good. Like, it was hit.
back in the day,
He was,
yes.
yes. He
But
was,
then all of a sudden, people just said Drake hasn't moved or grown past that age where he met us, and we have.
yeah. Yeah.
So crazy.
I mean, for him, it's like, again, if it's not broke, don't fix it. People are
So
still going to
true.
be buying them. And even Taylor
So
Swift,
true.
she's like number
So
one.
true.
And it's like,
So true. Yeah, so
on
true.
this one, on this album. I think we've seen the reviews. We know.
Yeah, we have. I've seen so many. I've seen so many. That's why I was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect conversation that we're having. Because I was just like, let's keep it real. Like, I want to know a musician's point of view. So thank you for sharing that with
Yeah.
me. There was something I wanted to ask you because it's quite remarkable. You mentioned that you're the first US artist to be signed to Universal Mexico.
Yes.
What's that like? How did that come about?
It's so cool. So I worked with a ton of different producers like online and stuff, and like
Okay.
just like in different areas like New York and Miami, but I never really found like the right fit. And I ended up speaking to somebody out of California who does like mixing and mastering, and he was like, "Oh, I might know somebody." It's all about networking. Like, it's literally person to person to person. And he was a producer out of Universal Music Mexico. And he was like, "I'd love to do some sessions and work with you." And thankfully, my parents are incredibly supportive. So they're like, "All right, let's go to LA and let's do it." And then we recorded some demos. And then he brought that to Universal Music Mexico and they were like, "Let's do it." And I was like, "What?" Like, just to know that they had that much faith in me to, that be their introduction in the United States and to be this, face forward for them as a label is like just so incredible. And they're so like, it's such a family throughout the whole label. Like, it really is like, do your thing, be creative, whatever you need, we're here. Like, it's been incredible. And to know too, like just like, I love to see like all these cross cultural things. I mean, it's so cool how the music, in Mexico City is coming here and the music in the States is coming there. And we're really sort of blending these genres and artists and the diversity that's coming out of it and the music that's coming out of it. I mean, to be even, 0.1% a part of that is so cool. So cool.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing that. I can only imagine because you know what, sometimes a lot of artists, they get distracted from their creative path because, the label has a particular idea for what they want the artist to be. So it's nice when you have that creative freedom, that space to expand. I think that's so beautiful because that's the perfect space for an artist to be nurtured and evolve. So I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, I love my team.
So what's your favorite track on Adesso?
I love Static. I think it
Mm,
really does
it's a
like,
good opener.
yeah, it really explains my anxiety in a very specific way. So, like for me, if I've gotten better with it now. I still fall into like slip into it, but like, you're trying to go to bed at night and you're like, let's think about all the embarrassing things I've done in the past 4 years. That's like that song on the way to September, on the way to October, like going to all these different times and months and like just
Yes.
like let me think about it all the time and like just torture myself. And that's in the chorus, like all this washes away. All of this, none of this is important. Like you're literally doing this to yourself for no reason whatsoever. Like let's think happy thoughts and let's meditate and just go to sleep. Let's not torture
Mm,
ourselves. But
yeah.
that, I mean, that is like the root of my anxiety. Just like absolutely just going down that well of like deep dark thoughts and not being able to escape it, like those incessant thoughts. It's static. That, and even the just the production in that song is incredible, and just the guitar and the melody, like
Love it. Yeah. Static was a very good
top.
song.
It's top. That's peak for me.
Yeah. And, I like that you said that it describes anxiety. When you started saying the words again, I remembered how I felt. I remembered it felt like a journey, really. And when you said on the way to October, on the way to September, October, it felt like a train. You're just passing all sorts of scenes. But these scenes are like memories in your head. And you're just like anxious to just keep going and going. But the chorus felt very like, the light that comes in through that dark space and
Yeah.
reminds you that you don't have to be here. You can be free. You can be happier. You can move away from this space. I love that a lot. And the music, like I said, the melody, it really, really carried it all together.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oof, wow. So many things to say. What have you learned about presence and surrender through making Adesso?
Ooh, I think writing those songs, there is this form of surrender. Like it's this, like I'm surrendering myself to feel this way. I'm surrendering myself to go through this moment again, and I just need to let go and let it happen. And again, be in the present. Just feel it for all it's worth, and it's all it's there. You have to just jump into it. You have to just go head first. And I think that's so difficult, like so difficult, but it's like you can't even think about it. Like you just got to do it. You can't even like let your brain start. Like it's funny, me and my brother are like the exact opposite in that, where it's like he's always like thinking and like maybe I won't. And I'm just like I'm doing it. And every time we do something, like when we were kids, we'd do something silly, he'd always get hurt and I wouldn't, because I just was like, I'm gonna just do it. I'm not even gonna think about it. I think that's even a great analogy. When you start to think about something too much, your anxiety starts going and you kind of mess up, or you're like, ugh. But if you just go straight first, head into it and you're confident, you're like, let's just do it. There's a lot less room for mistakes in a way, because you're confident, you're going straight forward, you're making your stance known, you're not sort of wavering.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really eye-opening. So when you look at the body of work you've created so far, what do you think your soul has been trying to say through you?
I think to not be afraid, to be and to be myself and to feel what I feel. I think I've dealt with with dealing with anxiety, a lot of shame, like a lot of shame and guilt. And it's like, it's so not worth it. Like, it's so easy to say it's so not worth it, and it's so hard to get out of it, but it's so just like not worth it. And you have to respect yourself, and you have to treat yourself with kindness, how you treat everybody else. I think we're meaner to ourselves than we are to anybody.
Yeah.
And you have to treat it how you treat yourself, how you treat your friend or your mom, or you can't, you know, bully yourself, or you're just going to be in this constant loop of negativity. And I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people bully themselves, and it's like, it's not worth it. It's so not worth to feel negative and, despise your life. Like, we only have one. It's a 1 in a trillion chance to be here already, and we're here. Life is gorgeous and beautiful. And does it suck sometimes? Heck yes, it sucks. But you learn from those mistakes and you move forward and you grow. And that's what life is all about. You can't not go through life without making mistakes, because you're never going to grow if you don't make mistakes. It's never gonna happen. Just keep going.
Thank you so much for all these beautiful words. Like, oh, wow. Like you're pouring into me so much. I'm
You're
so
so
happy.
sweet.
And you know something? There was a chord that you hit a while back, and I didn't have the words for it until you said shame. I'm not even sure I may have known that I had anxiety, but I know what it's like to go to bed and your brain is replaying every
Mhm,
embarrassing moment. And whew, wow. It's nice to know that that's way in the past now. I think you just get to a point where like you try to be more in control of your mind and how you feel and control your
mhm,
inner world and be like the outer world doesn't have power over how I feel inside that. I'm stronger. So I
mhm,
love that you convey that strength through your music and it shows through you. It feels embodied. Maybe you may have some bad days, but still like I feel that the healing from what you've said about your experience, you know. So thank you for sharing that. Well, thank you for also reminding me about a time that I experienced before, but didn't have words to
mm,
express because I know how, what's the right word? Crippling memories can be when you're focused on the embarrassing moments, the shameful moments. But I think what is beautiful now as artists is that we have those moments to use in art, like to alchemize in a way that
mhm,
just create something more beautiful out of it. And not only that, we end up becoming even more defiant when we're older because we've experienced a time where we were harping on our mistakes and we just get to a point where we're like, fuck it. Like,
mhm,
I'm just living. I'm
mhm,
living my life. You guys
mhm,
can feel however I want to feel. See me however I want to see me. I know myself
mhm,
more than anyone on this earth. So you will watch me live. That's exactly how I feel. So thank you so much for
Thank
joining me on this
you.
podcast.
This is so much fun. Like, this is, like, been, like, my favorite podcast, like, ever.
Oh, no, really?
Like,
I'm
like,
so
at the end of this year, I'm like, I love you,
thank
Viv.
you.
Thank you.
Oh, I love you too, Sophia. No, honestly, I really, really clicked. I loved it. And can I ask, what made you want to come on this podcast as a guest? Because let me tell you why. When I have like amazing guests, I always think to myself, wow, what made them want to be here and have this conversation with me? That, but I'm like always so happy because it's like, you know, everything just aligns. So what made you want to be here?
I loved your questions you asked. Like, I don't think I've ever heard, like, a lot of interviews. It's sort of the similar, same questions, and I feel like you ask very, very deep questions. I don't think there's been one that's been, like, surface level. Like, there's ones where I'm like, I actually have to think about it and go through it and be like, I think I've discovered some things about myself in this episode that I didn't even know. Like, yeah, you did an amazing job, Bev. You do an amazing job.
Thank you. I love that. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you for opening our hearts up because that's exactly how I feel. I feel like I've opened, yeah, a part of me has opened up because you unlocked a part of me with your songs and with your our conversation. You allowed me to, or give me space to also dive in deeper into myself and remember aspects of myself that I've healed, but didn't have the words to put into words at that time, you know? I
Mhm.
definitely did have that time where I had all these memories running through my head and it just hits me like, wait, I've experienced this before. So I can only imagine how your audience feels when they listen to your songs and they feel seen. So you've inspired me to come to terms with where I'm coming from, but to also go back to songwriting. Like, what happened to that Viv that used to write
You
songs?
got to
Like, what
do
the
it.
heck?
You got to do it.
Right?
Yeah.
My goodness. Yeah. But I totally, totally thank you so much for joining me here.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for being here.
Thank you so much, Viv. It's been a pleasure.
It's my pleasure as well. Now, listeners, Sophia helped us to open up to our creative worlds and showed us that music can be both a mirror and medicine. To everyone listening, you can stream Sophia's latest EP, Adesso, and explore her full discography on Spotify. Just head to Sophia Warren on Spotify. I'll put the link in my show notes. Follow her journey. Let her songs meet you where you are. And remember, the creative process isn't just about making art. It's about remembering who you are in the process. Thank you and see you next time.
And see you next.
Bye.
Bye.